7:08 now. An independent report says the NHS Trust running Stafford and Cannock hospitals could need bailing out by the government. The health regulator Monitor says more than £70 million of funding is needed from the Department of Health just to break even. Now, it's been looking at standards of care at the two hospitals, said that standards could drop just because of the levels of debt at the Trust. Aidan Burley is the Conservative MP for Cannock Chase, joins us now. Aidan, good morning.
Morning, Pete.
How did this happen? How did Mid-Staffordshire Trust manage to get into such huge debt?
Well, I mean, that's ultimately a question for the Trust, but you say it could need bailing out. It is being bailed out. The government has injected an extra £21 million into the Trust last year. It's injecting a further £26 million extra on top of their budget this year. And in total, this government is sending in an extra £58 million into the Trust over the next 3 years, which is still losing £1.6 million a month. And I really feel there are some serious questions for the last Labour government and the Health Secretary, Andy Burnham, who granted them Foundation Trust status in 2009. And every year since then, they have made a loss.
Obviously there's two hospitals here. There's Stafford Hospital, there's Cannock Hospital. I mean, Stafford Hospital has got its troubles of its own. What does this mean for Cannock Hospital?
Well, that's a good question as well. There are some worrying statements in the report that's published this morning. It suggests basically that the future for Cannock is to, quote, increase the rentable value of Cannock Hospital. And then it talks about renting out between 50% and 100% of it to, quote, another provider. It then has a mysterious figure of actually spending £5.4 million of taxpayers' money to get the hospital in a state to rent it out. So I can only assume that the Trust's plan, which they really must come clean about now because they haven't told us what it is to rent half or more of Cannock Hospital to a private sector provider like Bupa in order to try and balance their books. And I'd like to know what they think they need to spend £5.4 million of our money in the hospital to do so in order to rent it out to the private sector.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that's one of the first questions that I saw was obviously there's money being poured into this trust by you, and it doesn't seem to be sorting it out.
Well, money's being poured in, and, you know, for a trust to become a foundation trust, they're supposed to have sound finances. So how on earth they were ever granted FT status by the last government and then have lost money year on year and are now having to be bailed out to the tune of nearly £60 million is a question you need to ask the Labour MPs that come on your show. But I think
but I don't think it's going to solve anything now, is it?
Well, it's clear from this report that there's no future for Mid-Staffordshire Foundation Trust in its current form. So the important thing for local people are the future of the two hospitals it covers, which is Stafford Hospital and Cannock. I think the future for Stafford Hospital is that it is looked after by the University Hospital of North Staffordshire and becomes part of that group and works more closely with the NHS. And I think the future for Cannock, if the Trust's only plan is to try and privatise our hospital, then my suggestion in the independent report that I have submitted to Monitor, the health regulator, this week, is that Cannock is given for free to the local community to run as a community hospital, and that asset is transferred to a not-for-profit trust who can then rent out the part of the building that the NHS wishes to continue to use, but actually then use the other part of the building for things like GP surgeries, primary health care centres, walk-in clinics and so on.
Because it's the level of care that's more important than money.
Absolutely, and I'm not wedded to the trusts or to structures. What I care about are health services for local people, for my constituents, and I care passionately about keeping both Cannock and Stafford hospitals open. And the blunt truth is that without the extra 26 million that's being injected this year on top of their normal budget, the doors would simply have closed already.
Okay. Aidan Burley, thanks very much for speaking to us this morning, the Conservative MP for Cannock Chase. We're going to have more on this a little bit later on this morning. 12 minutes